season replays, fantasy drafts, ultimate created leagues, and what if tournaments. It's Coffee Cup Games with the coach, DKM. Hey, this is Coach DK. We are into the playoffs. We have gotten through the entire first round. Now we're into the National and the American League semifinals. So we're going to try to zip through this because we took a long time in the first round. There was also there are 8 different series going on. So we are down to 4 series now. So it should go a little bit quicker, but we're going to try to zip through these. I'm not sure how many rounds or games we're going to get through today, but we're going to try to go at a little bit of a faster pace. But let's take a look at what's going on in both the American and National League semifinals. So in the American League, we have the Chicago Invaders. They won against Minneapolis in 5 games. Chicago is the number 1 seed, and they're going to be playing against the number 4 seed. So both seeds, the better seeded team won. Detroit beat Milwaukee also in 5 games. And the bottom half of the bracket is the upset bracket. Kansas City Blues, the number 6 seed, and Buffalo Bulls, the number 7 seed, both upset their competition in the first round. Kansas City beat the Cleveland Babes in 7 games, and then Buffalo upset the number 2 Indianapolis Hoosiers in 5 games. So really interesting bottom half of the American League. In the National League, we got the Brooklyn Superbas, the number 1 seed. They swept the New York Giants, the only team to have a sweep in the first round. And they're going to be going against the number 4 Pittsburgh Pirates, who won in 7 against the Chicago Orphans. Then in the bottom half of the bracket, we got the number 3 and the number 2. We got the St. Louis Cardinals, the number 3 seed, who beat Philadelphia. They did win that one in 6 games. And then the Boston Beaneaters beat Cincinnati in 7 games. Boston came back from a 3-1 deficit to finally win it at home on the last game. So in the National League, we got a 1-4-2-3. In the American League, we got a 1-4-6-7. So kind of interesting little mix-up here, especially in the bottom half of the American League. But like I said, we're going to try to zip through these a little bit quicker. But before we jump into the games and the rounds and all the series of the playoffs, I'm just going to ask you to take a quick second, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment as you're watching, something that you like, something you'd like to see different. Always like to hear your feedback. But again, this is Coach DK. Let's go ahead and jump into the action. All right, so for the first game of today, we got the Detroit Wolverines, the number 4 seed, going against number 1 Chicago Invaders. Both teams rely on pitching and defense. Neither team is really good at hitting. Chicago, especially during the regular season, was the best team in pitching and by far one of the worst teams in hitting, but their pitching was absolutely incredible. So let's see who is going to be on the mound for both the Wolverines and the Invaders. For Detroit, we're going to have Jack Cronin. He was Detroit's most frequent starter. He went 21-16 with 4 saves and had a 2.74 ERA. He was one of, if not the best, strikeout guys in the American League. He has 2 games started so far in the postseason. He is 1-1. He has a 0.50 ERA. Absolutely incredible. He's pitched 18 innings, allowed only 10 hits and 1 walk. For Chicago, they're going to send up Jack Catol, so a battle of the Jacks. Jack Catol was definitely one of the best pitchers in the entire American League, getting 19 wins. While only losing 10, having 7 saves, and having a league-best 1.26 ERA. He also is one of the best strikeout guys with 98. He is 2-0 in his 2 games that he has started in the postseason. He has a 3.86 ERA. He's pitched 14 innings, allowed only 8 hits, and walked 3. So let's jump into the action and see what ended up happening. All right, well, Chicago jumped on Detroit early in the first inning with a run and then added 2 more in the third. Detroit did respond in the 6th with a run, so it was 3-1. And then we entered into the 8th inning, the bottom of the 8th inning, when Shugart, the Chicago hitter, hit a long fly ball, ricocheted off the fence, and he ended up getting an in-the-park home run. That started off with 1 out, started off a rally where Chicago just kept on pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring it on in the 8th inning. They ended up getting 5 runs, and then ultimately They won 8-1. So Sugar with his in the park home run was a highlight. Jack Catol, the pitcher for Chicago, went 8 innings. He only allowed 5 runs. He did give up a run, but it was unearned. So a good game, but Chicago definitely immediately in game one has asserted their dominance over Detroit and showing why they are the number 1 seed. All right, so now in the other semifinal game in the American League, we got the number 7 Buffalo Bulls and the number 6 Kansas City Blues. Both teams upset their competition in the first round. Buffalo, I guess you want to say, relies on pitching, and Kansas City, I guess, relies on their hitting. Buffalo number 7 in the league, but everything else is so bad that we're going to have to say their pitching. And it's pretty much the same thing with Kansas City. 6 in hitting, but everything else is horrendous. But one of the things we are expecting to see is a lot of errors. Both teams are horrible, the 2 worst teams in the league when it comes to defense. But on the mound today for Buffalo, we will have Dan Kerwin, the southpaw. He had a 2.76 ERA going and even 13-13 during the regular season. He has started 2 games. He has not gotten a decision yet, primarily because he's only gone 8 innings. But he does have a 3.24 ERA. For Kansas City, we have another left-hander, so a battle for southpaws here. Waddy Lee, by far their most frequent starter with 47 games started. He did win 22 games, going 22-21 with a 3.17 ERA. He is 1-1 in the postseason with a very, very good 1.00 ERA. He has started 2 games. He's averaged 9 innings a game, giving up 20 hits and 3 walks. So let's jump in and see what ended up happening. Well, Buffalo and Kansas City. Buffalo's supposed to have the better pitching. Kansas City's supposed to have the better hitting. Both teams are supposed to be horrible on defense. Well, some of that was true. Some of it wasn't. Kansas City jumped up early in the bottom of the first with a 1-0 lead. And then Buffalo scored 2 runs in both the 4th and the 5th inning. Kansas City made 3 errors in the first 3 innings. Buffalo made 2, but that was the only errors that were committed for the rest of the game. For Kansas City, Waddy Lee ended up going the complete game. He gave up 14 hits and gave up 4 earned runs. All 4 of the runs that were scored for Buffalo were earned. And for Buffalo, Dan Kerwin went 8 innings, allowing 11 hits. He gave up 2 runs, neither of which were earned. And then Hastings came in for the save. So ultimately, Buffalo ends up winning this one 4-2. Buffalo, who's supposed to be horrible at hitting, ended up having 14 hits compared to Kansas City's 12. Good game. A lot of hits, a lot of guys on base, a lot of guys left on base. But ultimately, Buffalo ended up winning this one and now and did so on the road. So now they take a quick early 1-0 lead in the series. All right, so now let's jump into the National League as we're going to have our night games. The first game we're going to be having is against the number 4 Pittsburgh Pirates and the number 1 Brooklyn Superbas. Pittsburgh's pretty much even in every major category. In my personal opinion, I believe they have a very, very good starting rotation. I think it's one of the best in the majors. I think their entire offense, though, relies on Honus Wagner and Frank Clark, especially Honus Wagner, to generate any kind of offense. And I think their bullpen is horrid. For Brooklyn, they are obviously leading the league in many categories. They have many Hall of Famers, and they have I would say an above average pitching staff, but not a great one. It's probably their weakness. But their offense is just complete juggernauts when it comes to getting on base, stealing, putting themselves in running and scoring position. So let's check out who's going to be starting in this one. For Pittsburgh, we're going to have left-hander Rube Waddell, Hall of Famer. He went 14-9 with 3 saves. He had 3.20 ERA. He did have 105 strikeouts during the regular season. In the postseason, he has yet to earn a decision. He has a 4.20 ERA, so not quite as good as I think he would like. He has pitched 15 innings, and he has gotten 10 strikeouts in those 15 innings. For Brooklyn, they're going to have a Hall of Famer themselves with Joe McKinney, the right-hander. He started 43 games, had a 21-13 record with a 3.86 ERA. In the postseason, he is 1-0 with a very impressive 0.96 ERA. He's pitched in 19 innings so far, giving up only 18 hits, and has struck out 4 batters. So let's jump into the action and see what ended up happening in this game. All right, game 1 between Pittsburgh and Brooklyn, and this was a good one. And my pregame spiel was pretty much point on. Pittsburgh has really good starting pitchers, really bad bullpen. Most of their offense is generated by Honus Wagner. Frank Clark definitely chips in, but that's the two main guys. For Brooklyn, they have a lot of Hall of Famers, and those Hall of Famers carry their team. They have a very good pitching, not the premier pitching, but they are very, very good. And they really do rely on their speed a lot and their base hits. But Pittsburgh jumps up early in the first inning with 2 runs, led by Honus Wagner, who kind of gets the ball rolling there with an RBI. Brooklyn during those early innings, gets caught stealing 3 times and gets a guy picked off. So trying to use their speed and really, really affecting the game. But then in the 6th inning, they get 2 triples with a runner on, 2 outs. Wee Willie Keeler gets a triple, Hall of Famer, and Huey Jennings, Hall of Famer, follows up with a triple. So they end up getting 2 runs with the 2 Hall of Famers getting the RBIs. In the top of the 7th, Pittsburgh gets a pinch hit home run. So now they're leading 3-2, and then we enter the bottom of the 8th where Brooklyn, again, Joe Kelly, Hall of Famer, leads off with a triple. They do a squeeze play to tie it, and then Wee Willie Keeler gets a single and then steals second, and then Jennings hits a single to score him and give them ultimately the winning run, as Pittsburgh's not able to do anything in the 9th. So ultimately the score is 4-3. Brooklyn wins this one. A really, really good game. I think it's going to be a lot of what we're seeing. Rube Waddell was excellent, but it came out after the 6th inning. They went to their bullpen, and it ended up costing them a game. So who knows what will happen? Pittsburgh can keep their starters in as long as possible. This could be a really good series, but Brooklyn is really, really tough. All right, so the last game of the day is game 1 between the number 3 St. Louis Cardinals and the number 2 Boston Beaneaters in the National League. I believe this is by far going to be the most interesting and most fun series out of the 4. You have St. Louis and Boston, who are both complete offensive juggernauts, filled with Hall of Famers. St. Louis has got John McGraw, they got Jesse Burkett, they have Bobby Wallace, but then they also have Mike Donlin, who is not a Hall of Famer, but this year he had like 24 home runs. He actually had more home runs than several teams total home runs. And so St. Louis is just incredible. They also got Cy Young on the mound, which is always a good thing. St. Louis's pitching is not horrible, even though their ERA is 12. They do have 1 or 2 really, really good pitchers. And the same thing's true for Boston. They got 3 Hall of Famers in their lineup. They got Billy Hamilton, Hugh Duffy, and Jimmy Collins. They kind of like the 1-2-3 punch. Good luck taking on those guys. And they do have some good pitchers, but obviously, their ERA doesn't show it. So when we go to the mound, you got to give the edge to St. Louis on this one. Boston, in fighting from 3 games to 1, had to fight back to win. Really, are not using their 2 best pitchers in this one, but they are going to go with Nick Cuppy for Boston, and for St. Louis, obviously, they're going with Cy Young. Cy Young, the right-hander, had 31 wins actually, a 2.54 ERA. He led the league, obviously, in wins, the only pitcher with over 30, and then led the league with 126 strikeouts. But he has struggled in the postseason. He has not earned a decision yet, a win, and he has a 5.40 ERA, and in 13 innings, he has given up 22 hits. So not having the best postseason. For Boston, they're sitting Nick Cuppy, the right-hander. He did not start a lot. He had a 3.51 ERA. He did have a winning record, but the biggest thing that you're going to notice with him is his 7.36 ERA. He is known to give up home runs, and with St. Louis's power, this could be dangerous. So, got to give the edge to St. Louis in this one, even though they're on the road, and Boston is the higher seeded team or better seeded team. All right, so let's go check out the action and see what actually did happen. All right, so game one between the Cardinals and the Beaneaters has concluded, and just like we thought, it came down to hitting and power. Great game, and I believe if this is the way the series is going to be, it's going to be awesome. But more or less, if you got a hit in the inning, a run was going to come. It was pretty much the guarantee, I would say, almost the entire game. In the top of the first, St. Louis jumped up with 3 hits in the first inning. They scored only 1 run, though, but they took a 1-0 lead. Boston responded in the bottom of the third. Their first hits of the game came in the third inning, where they got 6 of them and they scored 4 runs. Immediately following the top of the fourth, St. Louis got 3 more hits. This time they got 2 runs out of that. So the score is 4-3, Boston winning. We enter the 6th inning, and sure enough, Mike Donlin sends a home run to tie the game. And so power comes through. The game is tied at 4 apiece. We then enter the top of the 8th inning, and Jesse Burkett, the Hall of Famer, gets a triple. And then Mike Donlin steps to the plate again and hits a very long fly ball. Jesse Burkett scores, giving them the 5-4 lead. Boston doesn't get any hits in the bottom of the 8th or the 9th. So at the end of the day, you get the hits, you get the runs, you'll win. St. Louis got the hits at the right times. They end up winning 5-4, following Mike Donlin's great game with 3 RBIs. He was 2 for 3. He scored a run, obviously, on the home run. But St. Louis takes the lead 1-0 in this one. So, great game. Let's go back and check where everybody stands. All right, so all the game ones are concluded. Chicago obviously leads 1-0 in the American League, beating Detroit. Buffalo beat Kansas City on the road, so they're up 1-0. Brooklyn won a very good game against Pittsburgh, and St. Louis won against Boston on the road. So in the American League, the games didn't seem to be that close. In the National League, quite the opposite. Really good games. So we're going to be entering into Game 2. All right, Game 2 between Pittsburgh and Brooklyn. Brooklyn won the first one 4-3 in a really, really great game and lead the series 1-0. For Game 2, our starters are going to be for Pittsburgh, Sam Lever, the right-hander. He went 14-16, 3.57 ERA. He is 1-1 in the postseason with a 4.20 ERA. For Brooklyn, they're going to go with Frank Kitson. He had a very impressive 18-8 record with 7 saves and a very respectful 3.12 ERA. He's only started 1 game in the postseason. He did win it with a 4.91 ERA. So let's jump into the action and see what actually happened. All right, so Game 2 was a good one. Another really close battle. Pittsburgh jumped up in the top of the second. They did so off of 3 hits. Brooklyn then in the bottom of the second got a walk, an error, a walk, and then added 2 more singles and a sacrifice fly. They ended up getting 4 runs. So at the end of the second inning, it was 4-2, and that was most of the scoring for the entire game. Pittsburgh in the 8th inning did get a run. They had runners on second and third with 1 out. Brooklyn brought in Harry Howell, their best, relief pitcher, and he ended up shutting them down and finishing it out. And so at the end of the day, another 4-3 victory for Brooklyn, who now leads the series 2-0. All right, so the last game during the day will be the National League Game 2 between St. Louis Cardinals and the Boston Beaneaters. St. Louis won yesterday with a 5-4 victory on the road. On the mound, we will have Willie Sudhoff for the Cardinals, the right-hander. He went 10-12 with 3 saves and a 3.55 ERA, even though he only started 20 in the postseason. He's doing very well. For the most part, he's 1-1. He has a 1.42 ERA, and he's pitched 13 innings, allowing 17 hits and 2 walks with 4 strikeouts. For the Boston Beaneaters, they will send Bill Dineen, he went 22 and 15 with 2 saves, 3.34. He did have 90 walks and 76 strikeouts in the postseason. He has started 3 games. He has a 2-1 record with a 3.6 ERA. So let's jump in and see what actually happened between the Cardinals and the Beaneaters. All right, so game 2 between the Cardinals and the Beaneaters was not much of a contest. Let's just say that Willie Sudhoff, the Cardinals pitcher, gave up 6 earned runs, 3 of which Boston jumped up early in the 3rd inning with a 3-run 3rd inning, but St. Louis ended up getting 11 runs in the 5th inning, and each team may have added some more, but St. Louis coasted in this one, and now with a 15-6 victory, now lead the series 2-0. They won both games on the road and now go home for 3 games with a chance to clinch the series as St. Louis dominated the Beaneaters in Boston. All right, so game 2 between Detroit and Chicago. Chicago is the number 1 seed. They did end up winning the game yesterday 8-1 with an incredible 8th inning to put it away. Today we should have a good pitching matchup. Detroit's going to be sending right-hander Joe Yeager. He went 17-9 during the regular season with a 2.13 ERA. In the postseason, he is 2-0 with a 0.50 ERA, pitching 18 innings and allowing only 4 hits so far. Absolutely incredible. For Chicago, they're going to be sending up somebody also very good, Roy Patterson, a right-hander. He went 21-6 with a 20-game winner in the regular season. He had 3 saves and a 2.30 ERA. He is 1-0 in the postseason with a 2.84 ERA. He started 2 games with 13 innings pitched and allowed only 10 hits and 1 walk. So a good pitching matchup. Detroit trying to bounce back from yesterday's loss. Chicago trying to hold the home field advantage. Let's see what happened in the game. All right, game 2 between Detroit and Chicago. This might have been the best game of the playoffs so far. This was absolutely incredible. Detroit jumps up with 1 run in the 3rd inning. Chicago can do nothing against Detroit's starter, Joe Yeager, who had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. His defense was absolutely incredible, backing him up during those first few innings. In the 6th inning, Sheeran from Chicago hits a fly ball. It's going out. There's no doubt. Ball sailing. Holmes, the left fielder for Detroit, goes up, snatches the ball over the wall, saves the home run, keeps the shutout, saves the no-hitter. Absolutely incredible. We go into the 8th inning. Chicago gets the 2nd hit. Eventually, they do get a hit. Had one in the 6th later, and then they get a hit in the 8th. Chicago gets a runner on base. He gets the 2nd on I believe it was a stolen base, and then Chicago hits a ground ball to Detroit's first baseman Pop Dillon, who makes an error, and Chicago ties the game. Incredible. Joe Yeager goes 8 innings, allows only 2 hits, 1 walk, 0 earned runs, but Chicago ties the game 1-1 in the 8th inning. The game goes into extra innings, and then finally in the 11th inning, Chicago gets a single, a sacrifice bunt and then hits a double to win it. And so Chicago eventually wins this game 2-1 and now leads the series 2-0. But Joe Yeager, man, great pitching, and I'm sure very, very frustrated after that cycle, whatever events. So now we're going to be going to Detroit, and we'll see what happens in the next game. All right, game 2 between Buffalo and Kansas City, and so far all we can say is Buffalo, how are you doing this? They upset the number 2 Indianapolis Hoosiers in only 5 games, and then they take game 1 of the semifinals against Kansas City. When you look at their rankings during our regular season replay, hard to believe, except for their pitching ERA, just really incomprehensible. But for the starters today, we will have for Buffalo, Doc Amol, the South Pole. He went 14-21, not very good. He had a 3.64 ERA. He was their most frequent starter with 47 games started. and did strike out 92. In the postseason, he is 1-1 with a 3.60 ERA in 15 innings. He's allowed only 14 hits and 2 walks, striking out 5. Dale Gear will be taking the mound for the Blues of Kansas City. The right-hander was 21-7 with 6 saves during the regular season and a 2.54 ERA. In the postseason, he is 1-1 in 3 starts. He has a 2.04 ERA. So let's jump into the action and see what actually did happen between the Bulls and the Blues. All right, so if Detroit and Chicago was one of the best games of the playoffs, this might have been one of the most miserable games. 25 minutes I will never get back in my life. Buffalo's leadoff man Getman got a home run in the top of the third with 2 outs, and that just opened up the floodgates as Buffalo added 3 runs in the fourth, 4 runs in the fifth, 6 runs in the sixth, and 3 runs in the seventh. Every hitter for Buffalo had multiple hits except for Andrews, the third baseman, the number 8 hitter. You suck, Andrews. It was really, really bad. This game was a complete blowout. It was 17-3 as Buffalo. How you doing at Buffalo? Wins the game 2-0. They win both games on the road. Wow, geez, that game was dreadful.